We all know that the police officers have a crazy difficult job. I am speaking of the law-abiding police officers that think and do the job we think they were meant to do. I never believed it was the police officer's first priority to protect the citizen. Why? Because my experiences, along with countless other people that I know, have shown it not to be. Since I was a child, it became clear that the police, especially in neighborhoods that is of a primary minority makeup, first objective is to protect property and to keep conflict controlled so business is not interrupted. Yeah, if one attentively examines the actuality of the known stories, and I do stress known reports presented to the public, I am confident you will be hard-pressed to argue that the police strictly maintain the peace. Second objective was to treat, which now more and more white citizens of America are experiencing, many of the citizens, especially the young, as guilty until proven innocent. Repeat, second objective was to treat many citizens, especially the young, as guilty until proven innocent. Heck, you can't even peacefully decline a vehicle search most of the time. It used to be, if you fail to provide the police with probable cause, that they may try to provoke you, but would eventually leave you be. Not any longer. I think it is safe to say, in most cases, the cop will call for backup, place you on the ground in cuffs, and with destructive intent, search your vehicle. I think it is also fair to say that many police officers could care less about your rights. I find this to be especially true today. My educated guess is that many police departments around the country are recruiting from the military. Soldiers are taught to obey first and to think when necessary and not to question commands that are given to them. Many of these soldiers are fresh off of the war zone or military service. They have yet to acclimate to a civilian mindset and tend to be weapon happy. It appears many are on automaton mode. These sort consider failure to consent to search as probable cause. Now, let's think about that. Based on what I have witnessed, read, and the information that I have directly received from police officers that I do know and trust, I definitely think it is appropriate to state that many intensely dislike, many police officers that is, intensely dislike people who assert their rights. Let's face it, unless videotape evidence is available and can be used to support your position, then an officer has the option of deceiving the criminal justice community by stating something like, he doesn't remember giving consent, but he did. All of our officers heard it. Of course, the likelihood of seeing certain negative realities increase when you dwell within a city. However, it does appear unnecessary action is not constrained to the cities any longer, as you find more and more cases being reported in the suburbs and in small towns. I cannot fault them for sharing a soldier's ethos. After all, the police department is a watered-down military operation, no matter the jurisdiction. They wear uniforms with patches that denote rank and carry deadly weapons. They are intensely connected to a culture that is based on a hierarchy, a system that is based on a hierarchy. So, should it surprise anyone that injecting former military personnel will only strengthen this ethos, that similarities go beyond symbolic and formal similarities. Police shows on television are hideous. The propaganda and memes and repetition of violent imagery has successfully, in my opinion, encouraged the public to equate society at large, especially the poor white neighborhoods and the minority citizenship, to a potential war zone. I am sure there are many examples on sites like YouTube that clearly show how easy it is for the police to shift from protect and serve to military-style tactics, as well as use military-style equipment. And if you cannot find it on sites like YouTube, I am sure that Google would give you this information. Call me paranoid if you would like, if it allows you to disregard my thoughts without consideration. But how easy is it for the police to shift from protect and serve to military-style tactics? People do seem to illustrate the need to avoid uncomfortable realities like the emergence of a more militaristic breed of civilian police officer. If you allow your memory to take you back to immediately after September 11th, you will find how money was pumped into many of the police departments throughout the country. Well, fear was at an all-time high. You will remember how Homeland Security encouraged the police to embrace certain military tactical training and the increase in specialized units. If your recall runs deeper than this, then you will remember that these tactics were also initially introduced when the war on drugs was introduced for public consumption. So, do you think a militaristic mindset is the best way to engage their jobs? Do remember, one of the main duties of a soldier is to be ready to or to engage in battle. Though you may think that this is appropriate, deeper thought, I am sure, would guide you to understand that this is not compatible with protect and serve mentality. With the previous mindset, you have more police attempting to diffuse confrontation. You do have more creation of confrontation via the tactics of the soldier and or the demeanor of the soldier when placed in a day-to-day routine. What does this do? As the community becomes more informed of this sickness that we see daily, well, it eliminates ties, healthy ties, between the public and the police department. So public relations does suffer greatly due to this. If a person is rightfully or wrongfully viewed as a potential enemy, then this creates or reinforces existing us versus them if it is done in accordance to tactics that is not kosher for daily enterprise. This creates more tension where good will decrease and erosion of constitutional rights increase. Now, let's put on our thinking caps. Got it on? I do. If you spend money on an improvement for a business, then you have to justify the expenditure. So, these specialized units I mentioned earlier have to be given work even if there is little for them. This normally leads one to search out for opportunity, hoping it would be in an appropriate setting, as this places containment on debate for the expense. Get it? This becomes very difficult for smaller jurisdictions where these smaller police departments exist. Let's not forget, in the latter part of November of 2011, when Mayor Michael R. Bloomberg, Bloomberg, of New York City, visiting, I do believe it was MIT, he said, and I quote, "I have my own army in the NYPD, or New York City Police Department." His own army. This should tell you that some politicians even acknowledge that the line that has traditionally separated the military from civilian policing is eroding. Are you listening now? I hope so. For all of the police officers that are listening, I know many careers stress job improvement. It only makes sense that you do as well. you have to deal with working against evolving threats in an increasingly dangerous world. I also know you want to return home alive and well. We all do when we go to work. We wish to go home in one piece, unharmed and in good health. But you do a great disservice to your fellow citizen when you insist you are not becoming more militarized in your thinking or actions. We know the new technology is not limited to the counter-terrorism, but traditional crime busting is where you see it most. We know many of you see any that even question your methodology as your enemy instead of fellow citizens. However, some of your fellow officers' participation in the Occupy movement, tasering incidences that resulted in deaths, which, by the way, is not merely an accident, though many of you have been indoctrinated to believe you are using non-lethal weapons. Some of you know, and pardon me if I stray a little bit to make a point more clear about tasers. Some of you know, as I do, that every time you use it, you're rolling the bones. And the more that you use it, that the probability of more deaths will occur. Why? After all, when death does occur, it is listed as an inadvertent accidental death, not the murder that it is, even though it supposedly is not intentional. Even in cases where the tasers are inappropriately used multiple times. I am sure it is convenient to ignore if the jolt of electricity hits your body when the heart is in a certain phase of its contraction cycle, that it places the heart into ventricular fibrillation, in which it can and does in some cases. Some is more than enough. Some that should have never happened. So, which can and does, in some cases, lead to the end of homeostasis, to death. At best, these are instruments of torture. Since we cannot trust you to not recklessly use them, then we have to also concern ourselves with inappropriate use. And as I have said in my other video about police officers and concerns that we have, you guys do not get treatment, many of you, for some of the cruel, insane things that you witness. And what I mean by treatment is that you guys do not talk to someone. You don't get these things off of your chest. You don't necessarily deal with all of the images that you see. You internalize them. You allow it to destroy you from the inside out. And then what you produce to the public is a monster. One who is uncaring. One who can only see the division of us versus them. One who does not have the citizen's best interest at heart. Tell me, have you ever thought how your taser would impact a person with health problems? It is long overdue that the public confronts what its police forces have become. We have had enough of your excessive force. We are weary of frequently hearing of deadly force used on unarmed citizens. Not all, by the way, have broken the law. We are tired of you reaching for the gun before using your mind to properly assess a situation. We will not accept there was not dash cam video records when something questionable occurs, like someone dying. We will no longer support your duplicity. You can't protect and serve the community and generate behavior that is uncharacteristic to your department values or reported department values via route of a militaristic mindset. We have no choice but to accept that an unsettling amount of you are out of control. And I wish that it was different, but that is all that I can logically see. Thank you for listening.